Hello and welcome to another episode of the Star Wars Alliance podcast. Of course, I'm your host Clay, and with me, like always, is of course Katie. How you doing today, Katie?
I am good. I have a job now. Very important. Like,
Yes,
I start
yes.
next week. It's gonna be legendary. I hope.
It is it
So,
is so good. It did seem a little rocky though, just because of what you were messaging us about as far as not knowing if podcasting was still in the cards, That was kind of scary.
yes. Thankfully, they're okay with that. And honestly, I would probably have just gone, "Hey, Travis, can you donate this to a charity that's to Katie Rinchler?" No, but in all seriousness, obviously, I got everything approved, so we are good to go.
It's all
Starting
good.
next Monday. Woot.
Now, I will say I have some homework tonight. I've already said this to Heinz as well for our DCA later tonight. So I kind of want to just jump right into this. Of course, we are a part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network, which has 8 shows, 7 days a week. Haven't done this intro in a while. Sorry. Kind of got tripped up in my own brain there. Of course, we have 4 of those shows on a bi-weekly schedule. I'm sorry if I'm a little echoey. I've been trying to get all of my stuff into this room and it just hasn't happened. Moving, guys. And also, I've said this on DCA, might as well say it on every show that I'm a part of because I have a different audience for each one. Not only have I been moving, but it was just announced and just found out that I will become a father. So
Woo!
it was so funny. Before I finished the GOA plugs, after I told my GOA family, well, most of the GOA family, I had to go to the GOA family that I haven't been talking to in a while. So I went ahead and I talked to Nathan. And I was like, man, us Star Wars hosts, like we just have some bad luck or something. And I sent him the picture of the positive pregnancy test. And he immediately goes, "Wait, is Katie pregnant?" And, and
Why
I
would
said,
you send that? Why would you send that picture? Nathan, I just want to know what went through your head, man.
I don't know. I don't know. But I was like, no, dude, that was me. Oh, wait, I mean, my wife. Oh, we had a good laugh about it. It was great. But yeah, I'm gonna be a dad in 9 months or so. Katie is holding me to it. I'm not allowed to watch The Flash while my wife is in the hospital.
No, not allowed. Not allowed. I will come to Texas and I will beat your ass if you
Hey,
are at
hey,
the
I
class
heard
while your wife is in the hospital.
I've heard the first child can take up to 48 hours worth of labor.
You need to
So
be with her the full labor time. Not allowed. She goes into labor. She is your sole focus until she gives you permission to go see the movie.
I'm gonna have to see if I can find like a copy, in the back of a truck or something. I guess just
Yeah.
on the side of the bed, watching that. Anyway, 4 shows on our bi-weekly schedule. First one starting off on Sundays, Slice of Film with Katie.
Coming
That is
back in April, by the way. I
coming
just got
back in
final
April.
word.
Awesome,
So,
awesome. Looking forward to it. And then, of course, on our bi-weekly schedule as well is World's Finest True Believers, which just dropped recently with both me and Chris. We did a creator spotlight talking to technically 4 creators on a specific crossover event over at Image Comics called Supermassive. So go check that out. Really, really fun interview. One of the creators actually put me on the spot for a second. It was really, really fun. So go check that out. Of course, our next lineup is Ranger Alliance, the Power Ranger show with me, Joe, and Jake talking everything Power Rangers. And then, of course, the last one on our bi-weekly schedule is, of course, a walk through the multiverse with Joe on Saturdays. The weekly shows, of course, are DC Alliance, Superhero Discussions, Us, Star Wars Alliance, and Marvel Alliance. Now, we are a listener and ad supported network, so we will have ads in this show, which means that if you don't want ads, you can either join us here on YouTube. So you can just watch at us as we stare at you just awkwardly while we wait for those pauses. And you could also join our Patreon. $1 tier just says a thank you, but $5 gives you that exclusive content without ads for the early shows as well. So go check those out. The solo feeds for our network are Star Wars, DC, and Marvel Alliance. So if you want to listen to those separately, you can, or you can just join Geek Ultimate Alliance and listen to everything under the sun. Whew. All right. Now, along with all of that, let's go ahead and jump into things. I kind of just put it out there, especially in the thumbnail. So let's go ahead and talk about.
I don't even know what the thumbnail is.
It is the
StreamYard doesn't show me.
is the John Watts news with the High Republic
Oh yes.
from New York webslinger to a galaxy far, far away. John Watts has been confirmed to at least be directing one episode of this High Republic show. Katie, how do you feel about this?
Now we say confirmed. It has not been confirmed by StarWars.com. It has
Quote unquote confirmed.
so every quote, everything's a rumor until proven by StarWars.com.
True.
So I feel pretty good. I think some of his cinematography might be better fitted to better fit. It might be a better fit for television versus film. So it could be a good move. Um, and I mean, I think he's done really well with the high school scenes from Spider-Man in particular. So that could translate really well towards a kid-focused show, which this High Republic show seems to be about. And remember, the show is supposed to start shooting this summer. And okay, I'm gonna play down. Isn't he supposed to be doing Fantastic Four?
Yes.
So, and I think it all kind of depends on Doctor Strange because there's some rumors that Reed Richards from that will be for Fantastic Four. So, but TV also doesn't.
Yeah, there's conflicting reports on that because they said that there might be a Reed Richards that is not in the MCU universe and actually a variant, and so we're gonna meet that Mr. Fantastic later, and all sorts of
John
stuff.
Krasinski. That's my vote.
And I think that this is still okay because for one, if it's just one episode, it's not like he's directing an entire movie. And so
Yeah.
then he still has room to move around his schedule to be able to do this. After what I saw in No Way Home, No Way Home, I'm pretty confident in what he can do.
Yeah.
I am excited for this just because this show seems to be moving forward pretty quickly. And people can say that's maybe a bad thing because it's probably going to be rushed. I just feel it's a good thing because we're getting more Star Wars content. Now, it
Yes.
won't be advertised until the week of, but I'm excited for it.
I said this on I don't even oh gosh Josh, I'm so sorry. I was on a podcast with him. He and I used to work together in Revenge of the Fans, and he brought me on to talk about Book of Boba Fett. The Super Secret HQ is the podcast name. Found it. But I was on there, and I came up with something good there, so I just want to repeat it here. I think Star Wars is going to have to learn to accept average if we want more shows to come out and be okay with not everything being top level. Because if you continue to go, oh, well, everything must be excellent, everything's got to be top of the game, then you're always going to just be left unhappy. So if you can start accepting average stuff like Book of Boba Fett, I think we both agreed Book of Boba Fett was more average.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you can accept, okay, we got Star Wars television, and there was some pretty good stuff in it, then I think you'll be a lot happier long term, and we'll start getting more Star Wars content if the rest of the fan base can go, yeah, you know what, we got some good stuff out of that.
I think for one, I have met perfectionists before. I am for sure not a perfectionist. I am a close enough, and I'm good. Like
Woo!
that is who I am. But I have met some perfectionists in my life, and they are either always stressed out, always worn out. Like it's not a
Me,
fun time for
me,
perfectionists.
me. I'm on anti-anxiety meds now for my perfectionism. Thank you very much.
I think
Um,
that in the realm of how we look at Star Wars content, I think it's okay to say, "Hey, we need top-notch Star Wars films." Cool.
yes.
Now, in a weird way, I think that we should look at TV shows, both live action and in animation. I think that we should have a almost like filler look at those things, and it would be okay if like this is, you know, feeding my hunger for Star Wars content, so I am content with that content, and I think that's how we should be looking at these things. Now, we do get some stinkers, unfortunate, like the Bad Batch, but we just move on. We move forward with it, and hopefully we keep getting more content. And like you said, as long as it's average, as long as it's not like the worst show in all of existence, I think we'll be okay. So, of course, Chris Bauga coming in here. I expect perfection from Star Wars uh, if they only realize Zack Snyder is the blueprint. Hey, maybe Lucasfilm will see Rebel Moon and be like, holy shit, this was actually a good idea. We made a mistake. And then Zack Snyder will run all of Star Wars.
Well, Snyder pitched Rebel Moon to Star Wars
Yeah.
before Lucas sold to Disney. So, and he just got denied. I wish he'd come back, but I don't know if he wants to play ball under the Disney banner or not.
Well, no, I think more so, and we're not going to stick on this for too long. But I think because this conversation can go all sorts of places. But I think because of what happened at WB, he is more comfortable with people who actually let him do whatever he wants. And right now, Netflix is doing that for him. And so he's, now that doesn't mean that he can't come around and be like, okay, I've always wanted to play in this sandbox. Let me play with this one episode. Like if I find out that he is like the cinematographer on one episode of The Mandalorian in 2 years, holy shit, I
Yeah.
mean, that would be really freaking cool. But I think right now he's doing his own thing. That's fine. But as far as John Watts bringing it
I
back,
I just want to point out real quick that Clay is over here and he's recording a Star Wars podcast and a DC podcast tonight, and he's in the wrong uniform.
I know my Mandalorian shirt is in the wash. I was hoping it would be finished by the time that it would, be today. Unfortunately, didn't happen. But bringing it
I'm over
back,
here in workout gear, so
bringing it back to John Watts. I don't think I have seen much of his stuff. I would have to actually go and look into his IMDb to see what he's done outside of Spider-Man. But I've enjoyed it, what he has put in the MCU. Now I know that Travis Snell is a little iffy on some of his stuff that he's done with Spider-Man. He's iffy on what he will do in Fantastic Four, and because of that, probably iffy on what he will do in the High Republic Star Wars show. But I'm confident as like if it's just one or two episodes and not like, hey, we're gonna helm you the entire thing, I don't think you should have to worry that much. Especially with the High Republic being a piece of Star Wars that is so far away from everything that we've been dealing with, something that we've been wanting is, going so far back or so far into the future to stay away from the quote unquote Skywalker saga. I think it'll be fine, and I'm okay with it.
yeah, I think so too. He hasn't done a lot. He directed Clown, which is a rated R film. Cop Car, if IMDb would load, is also a rated R movie. With Kevin Bacon. I don't recognize anybody else in there. And then his next one was Spider-Man: Homecoming, Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Oh wow, so
Um,
he doesn't have a lot on his filmography.
he has a lot of like TV shows and shorts.
Okay, well then this is
So,
his realm of expertise, and that's even better. If he is more so in the ballpark of playing around with TV, playing around with shorts, I short films. I think this will be great.
yeah, the latest thing he shot is for The Old Man, where he directed one episode, and then before that, his last TV appearance was in 2011. So, oh no, I'm sorry, 2012. So it's been almost 10 years since he's directed.
A
Um,
TV show.
yeah,
Okay,
he'll be good.
not too bad. But do you want to go into Lego Star Wars now, or do you want to take a first break? What do you think?
Let's go ahead and dive in, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it'll be too long. So the people over at, I think it was the Fan Fest that this was
Yes.
debuting at, and IGN put this out. So did Lego, the official YouTube for Lego, put this video out, and it's just an overview of the game. Some of the developers talking about the game itself, the designers, the sound designer, the actual model developers and things like that, talking about the game overall, what brought them inspiration with some things. I know Katie just recently watched it, but we
Y'all,
were
I've had
texting.
some sort of like virus or something. It's like I've been beat up for the past couple days, and yesterday was Matt's birthday, so I
Oh,
had to do that stuff.
happy birthday, Matt!
I will let him know.
We were texting the other day, and I was like, "Oh shit, maybe I should watch that real quick." And I didn't watch it that entire day, even though I said we should probably watch it. And then the very next day, I was like, "Oh crap, yeah, let's go ahead."
Mhm.
And then I sent it to you via text, and I was like, "Hey." And I remember that you have a Mac, so I was like, "Oh, this will also send to her Mac, so that way she can watch it on a bigger screen." And you still didn't do it.
Y'all, I have been so worried about job stuff. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
no,
you
no.
sent it to me Monday, and I was like, I had one last interview Monday, and it was, I, and then like I had to sign the paperwork, and then I actually signed the wrong paperwork, so then they had to send me another copy of the paperwork. So I am all good now. But Monday was a mess, and then yesterday I felt like crap plus the birthday. So
I think you sent me a message immediately after I sent it, and you're like, "I'll deal with this after the interview stuff." So that's totally fine. And technically, you have now.
yeah.
But overall, I think with this, there wasn't a whole lot of new gameplay. There was some random cutscenes that were just showing off some of the things that they were specifically talking about.
Hmm.
The one thing that I am going to love about this game, it really does seem like, is the sound design. Me as an
Yeah.
audio engineer, the lead sound designer was talking about how they've put so much into this game, especially now with actual voice acting and just the blasters. I think one of the craziest things about sound design is how much Lucasfilm has, or Skywalker Sound has really paved the way for sound design, like
Yeah.
for almost everything nowadays. But one of the cool things that I saw in the video was there is a pew pew
Yeah. Wait, you already
mode where every single time you shoot something, it just goes pew 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 pew
And
pew
I'm
pew pew
assuming the
pew pew.
lightsaber does the same thing where it's like vroom, vroom.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be so great. It's all these sounds from like your mouth, which is really really fun. There is also Mumble Mode. We've talked about that before, but they have brought that back into this
I do just want to
because
apologize to the voice actors. I'm sure y'all did a great job, but Mumble Mode is half the reason I come to these games. I'm just kidding, but like seriously though, I probably will only play this in Mumble Mode.
see, I think I will probably play it all the way through with actual voice acting, because one of the
Oh, for
other
like
things.
story mode.
Yeah, one of the things that they also talked about, just some of the smaller pieces of detail that I'm gonna really appreciate is like when your character puts on a helmet, you can
Yeah.
actually, sound, it sounds different from when they don't have the helmet and things like that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Now, I still need to decide. I think I need to decide sometime within the next few weeks, because this does, guys, come out April 5th. I need to find out which console I'm getting this for. I still don't know.
I'm getting this for I've pre-ordered it for my PS4 for 2 years now, so that's what I'm getting it on. I could get it on my Switch, I guess, and do that instead, but I grew up playing PlayStation. It's just what
I'm
I'm used
afraid
to.
I'm afraid that this game may be a little too big for the Switch though. That's my problem. Is that I think that
Yeah,
with updates and everything else that this game will eventually get too big and it'll be harder to play on the Switch than it would be a PlayStation or an Xbox.
I would agree. I think it's gonna get too big. Though, granted, I got the biggest Switch, but like my PlayStation, I think has like 500 gigabytes on it. So
And honestly, I think majority of the GUA does have PlayStation, so I might just get it for the PlayStation. So that
yeah,
way,
because
if
I think
any of
there's
us want to play together, we can all play together.
yeah. Because I know Matt's not gonna want to play with it with me, and like it sucks because now that I have this new job, I can't take it off the day after it releases. But then we're supposed to go to a wedding the following weekend, so I'm literally going to just be playing this at night. Like literally, I may just give you the day off, and I might just like have Matt help me figure out how to stream it, and we'll just stream to the Geek first, like me playing through the shit. Like,
Actually,
'cause
I would not be against it, to be completely honest. If our if our show that day, if we can work it out, no promises, people, no promises, but if we can work it out with the GUA, if we can make our podcast for that day a actual stream of the game, I think that would be fine. Chris says Switch all the way, never a question about it. SBub says most games on the Switch are too big for the Switch. And then Chris says if you had it on Switch, you could take it with you to the wedding.
So, and yes, I agree with this, but my problem is that I have really bad eyesight. And so when the power went out a couple weeks ago, Matt and I were like, okay, well, what are we gonna do? So we tried to play Mario Kart on the Switch, and I hated it. I hated the tiny screen.
Which is
So
understandable, which is totally understandable. But I will say this one thing that we are doing in this apartment now, I do have a TV mounted in my living room, but I am ordering a second dock for my Switch so that way I can attach it to the projector that I have in my
Ooh, yeah.
bedroom. And so when we're too lazy to go into the living room and play the Switch, I can just play it on the projector on the wall in my bedroom.
That's very
So
nice.
maybe you should just get a projector and everything would work out.
And tote the projector to my mother-in-law's house. I don't know if she'd appreciate
And see,
that.
and that's another thing also. Like you're going to a wedding. See, me, I would be the bad friend that like during the ceremony would just be like sitting down playing like it. I remember days of me and my dad going to church, and while everything is going on in church, my dad is literally on his phone gambling in church, playing
In church.
poker.
Oh my god.
It was great. It was great. It was hilarious. But yeah, I feel like I would be the bad friend doing that. And it's not like you're a kid trying to like, hey, you need to like be focused on something other than nothing. Otherwise, you'll, run around and, be stupid in the middle of a wedding. Here's your Switch. You're a grown adult. So you just look like an asshole when you're just like, oh yeah, hey, yeah, congratulations, cool. All right,
It's
cool.
It's Matt's friend, and it's Matt's friend from video games. Espo says, "Gotta get those
Those
gold
gold
bricks."
bricks.
Your friend Joe took a 3DS to a stripper, like a strip club. What?
Hey,
He said gentleman's club, but
I mean, it's the same thing. But honestly, when you got a game, you got a game, you know? It's like, hey, hey, it's nice, dollar bill, but let me go play some Pokemon real quick, you know?
Oh yeah, like I just got somebody twerking on me, and I'm just over here like playing with my 3DS, like gotta do it, gotta do what I gotta do.
Oh man. But yeah, I am super excited about this game. I think I am now convinced that I definitely need, honestly, what will probably happen, honestly, I will probably play this game on the PlayStation and think, who would like to play this? My wife. And then I will have to buy it on the Switch. So I'm probably going to buy two copies of it, honestly. So yeah.
But then you can like introduce it to her on the PlayStation and like get a feel for it, and then like kind of go from there. And then you could potentially find it on sale. So
Well, I mean, honestly though, Switch games are never on sale. That's the problem. Is
oh, that's so
Nintendo
true.
never has anything on sale. It's rough, you know. But I like I said, super excited about this game. Probably gonna get it on the PlayStation first thing. And we will talk to everybody at the GUA to see if we cannot plan a stream because that would be really really cool.
That would.
Now, let's go ahead and take our first ad break, possibly our only ad break, because we're just going to have this small discussion that I have been planning out. And I'm going to see what you feel about it, Katie. So let's go
Okay.
ahead. We do not choose these ads. We don't choose how many times they repeat themselves, if they do, or how loud the volume is. So just remember to lower that volume just a little bit, and we will be right back. And we are back. So, Katie, I was thinking, I can't remember what the guys over at Geekverse said to make me really think about this, but they were talking about Kenobi, they were talking about, just Star Wars in general because the High Republic show came up with them talking about it. And I had this really weird idea. Now, I got some backup as far as like information on how it works in a different franchise. And I want to see if this will work here. So, what do you think of the idea of Star Wars as a franchise going the route of Star Trek with different timelines?
How many times I gotta say that I approve of this?
Have we
You
talked
could have
about
done.
this?
Yes, I have said this several times with Legends, where I'm like, okay, if you wanted to satisfy multiple pieces of the
I don't
franchise,
remember us having this conversation. Was
I
this in our Visions
specifically
conversation?
this. No, I think this has been more recently. I don't remember, but I specifically said like you could totally like even if you just chose to do the books and just go, okay, yeah, and we introduce one book that says, oh, okay, if you choose, it's like a make your own adventure, and you go, okay, Luke chooses this path, then you go down Legends, and if you choose this path, then you go down canon or whatever path name you want to give that,
Well, and
and then
the
you
way
could
I
continue
really
everything.
the way I really see it, because I went ahead and I asked one of our mini Star Trek fanatics here in the GOA, one of them being Sarah, the other being Chris. I went ahead and messaged Chris. I think it was last night or this morning. I can't actually remember. But I asked how many timelines do they have? And technically, there are two, and technically, there is a third with like a mirror verse thing that is kind of along the same trajectory of another timeline and whatever. So it's still a little wonky to me personally. But of course, Trekkies, they watch this stuff and they're like, oh, it totally makes sense. Now, I think this makes sense more so because the fact that there is such a divide on what people want when it comes to Star Wars. Because the whole thing with the Book of Boba Fett, everybody loved the fact that Luke Skywalker was there. But then you had that, that small group of people that was like, oh, well, this isn't even Book of Boba Fett. This is, Mandalorian season 3, and it really wasn't even about them. It was all about Luke Skywalker, and then people on Twitter were like, "My hero is back. Luke Skywalker is back." And we've talked about this numerous times. We want to veer away from the Skywalker saga because we're just going to be circling the same stories over and over and over and over again, which I'm starting to sound a little bit like a parrot here because I said this last night via, well, not last night, 2 nights ago via DC Alliance. It's going to get boring. Now, Katie is grabbing a crap ton of books right now, people who are not here in the YouTube. What I say in the YouTube, man, how old am I? Jesus. So, holy shit, Katie, like, I understand you have a lot of books. What's going on?
Okay, so this gets us approximately. Wait, hang on.
Oh, so okay, no. So take this. Joe says everything pre-Abrams is one timeline. So we would have the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy being one timeline. Then you have the novels, which would be the Legends timeline, right?
Yes.
And then you have the new canon timeline via books of like what so I've never asked you this before, I don't think. So there is the High Republic.
The High Republic.
What is everything that is technically within the timeline of the Star Wars, franchise?
Canon.
That's all it is. There's nothing that
Canon.
they
That's all
okay.
there is.
Okay,
There
it's
is
just canon.
the Del Rey timeline. There is the Disney timeline. I'm sorry, Del Rey is both of these shelves.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
so
Joe, we're not talking about Star Trek. The Kelvin timeline is its own thing. I mean, you are technically correct, but even so, like, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe you can have the three trilogies as their own timeline, and then you have the Legends as another timeline. Then you have the novels as their own timeline because the famously Snell always says the books are canon until they're not. So because things have been contradicted before, apparently. So
yes.
I
So
I genuinely think that it could work.
10, 15,
Oh no, what have I gotten
20,
myself into?
24, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. There are 40 books in this section that you could consider New Republic, which is, by my definition, everything pre-Yuzong Vong and after Return of the Jedi. Or if
Okay.
you wanted to put it into context, because this is the end. This is the beginning stack, this is the middle, and this is the end. I got them out of order, but it was easier to see the piles this way.
Okay.
So you could consider the Truce of Bakura, like Luke trying to figure out his identity, to Jedi Sunrise, where he is officially married to Mara and he's figured out his identity as a person. And like being able to have a personal life while also having a Jedi life. So there's plenty of fucking content that they could go with. Heck, if they wanted to do, I'm going to continue Legends timeline and I'm going to continue a canon timeline, but you know what? I want to add a fucking third timeline just for shits and giggles.
Well, no,
you could do that.
One of the biggest things that gives this argument more, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? More more what? Credence, yes. What gives it more credence is the fact that there's technically time travel that is like canon into Star Wars.
Yes.
They've created it
World between
themselves.
worlds.
Yes.
It's a thing.
And I think, although people may think that it's, convoluted, that it could get messy, Star Trek has been able to do it and it makes sense. And people are satisfied being Trekkies. Star Wars fans are never satisfied, but I need to see this come through because I genuinely think that it could work.
Hello, Derpy Gaming. He says a wise Baba Frick once said, "Hey, hey, hey." Yes, hey, hey, hey. No, I think it's perfectly possible. And if you wanted to go, okay, I want to be able to give people a lead into what book, into what timeline they think would fit their personality best. If you're looking for one big hero, or if you're looking for multiple stories of good characters, then I think that's perfectly plausible. And where you do like a choose your own adventure, and you go, you do at the very end where it's like, um, if you want to continue this adventure, follow this timeline. And you just like do it that way. I think that would be a brilliant marketing scheme, and it would enable you to sell more Legends books to start a new timeline, bring in more creative brains. Chris and I were talking about this. Well, Chris talks about it. Chris never responded to me, but he's with Minoc Manor. I know. I was just like, he said, I feel really lucky for the amount of Star Wars books that we're able to get per year, because right now we've got 10 Star Wars books on the roster. And in the Legends timeline, we were lucky to get 4. And that would be like a prequel, 2 prequel eras and 2 sequel era ones.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky to get the amount of Star Wars content that we have right now per year, because I remember going, "Are you kidding me? That's the last book? What?" And now we're getting like multiple trilogies and like doing all this kind of stuff. We're very blessed. But Star Wars also has a creator-centric problem where they have problems getting people into Star Wars because of how violent fans are to the creatives involved in Star Wars. They will approach an author and go, "Hey, you want to write Star Wars?" And they're like, not with those fans. Nuh-uh, no. And if you give people more of an option and open your pathways, I think you have a lot more chance to bring more people in. We've got a lot of good people in with the High Republic, but there could be more people involved. There could be more women authors involved. There could be more people of color involved in writing. So,
SPUB says, I think there's another name for this idea you're pitching about lots of timelines and people choosing what
SBubs,
they want, see, or read. It's called fan fiction. Yes
SBubs, I
and
still don't
no.
want to talk to you. So, because you're supporting the people who said that Full Circle Cinema is tier 6 in terms of reporting. So, I'm just kidding. SBubs, I love you, but like,
one thing.
still pissed.
Yes, I will say there is plenty of people making their own fan fictions of any franchise out there. But the problem is with the franchise of Star Wars, it honestly seems, and I didn't really know this probably until I started to pay a little bit more attention to it, being here in the GUA, that it doesn't really seem like anybody's ever satisfied with the Star Wars content that they get. Like,
No, because we want perfect storytelling, and it's not possible. So,
I there is no such thing as a perfect story. I mean, there is The Princess Bride, but I genuinely think it's true. Princess Bride is the perfect story. Sorry, it just is. I think that if you go the route of them announcing, because I will say this, them announcing that they are adapting Claudia Gray's book into a movie opens the door for so many possibilities. That book being the
Lost Stars.
the Lost Stars. Yes. I think that this can then be like, okay, well, you took a canon book. Why can't we take a Legends book and do the exact same thing?
Mm-hmm.
You know? Now, that does mean that you would need to recast Luke Skywalker Or if Mark Hamill was up and willing to do ADR to, because I will say this, yes, younger Luke Skywalker in the Book of Boba Fett looked great. He did not sound amazing.
Yeah.
As an audio engineer, he felt very monotone. It didn't have a
I wonder
lot.
why.
It didn't have emotion, and you can't really have emotion when you're created by by a computer.
Yeah.
You just can't. So I think that if Mark Hamill is up for it, as far as doing ADR, having a body double, having the deep fake guy from YouTube, making his millions now with Lucasfilm, I think go for it. People want it. Let's do it. But also make the content that newer fans are still wanting. Move past the sequel trilogy. Have a story with Rey. Have a story with Finn. Have a story with an older Grogu. And then at the same time, you could also be doing the High Republic stuff. But you can also, you could be doing so much more as a franchise giant as Star Wars is. And it doesn't really look like they're doing much.
Yeah, I completely agree. But to SBub's point with fan fiction, George Lucas absolutely 100% said Legends was fan fiction. He was just giving them the creative license to get paid for fan fiction. And like certain things from George Lucas were gone. Yes, you can do this, or no, you can't do this. Like, they wanted to kill Han Solo in Vector Prime, which is the start of the Yuuzhan Vong New Jedi Order series. And George Lucas said, no, but you can kill Chewbacca. So they killed Chewbacca instead. So stuff like that was where George Lucas was involved. But otherwise, it was very heavy fan fiction. And it was because so many people found themselves in Luke Skywalker. But I think it's important to remember that Star Wars is alive because of Star Wars Legends. I say it all the time. I know. But the only reason George Lucas was able to sell Lucasfilm for $4.2 billion was because of Star Wars Legends. Because people wanted to continue to come back to these stories and tell more of it. So Disney coming in and putting their foot down and going, no, you know what, we're going to start over. We're going to completely start over. You can do that all day long, but these fans were here for a reason. They were here because they related to Leia, or they related to Han, or they related to Luke. Because all of these books, I think of the 40 in that set that I showed you guys, if you were here on YouTube, there was maybe 4 or 5 that did not have a main 3 trilogy, like Luke, Leia, or Han as the starring character. And so every single one of those books revolved around those 3. And when you get into New Jedi Order, it doesn't revolve as heavily around them, but it revolves around the Solo children. And the main 3 are still a part of it. They're still main characters in the story. The New Jedi Order just expanded the roster of characters they were telling those stories for. Like the very last Legends book, Crucible, I think is by Troy Denning. And that was supposed to be the send-off for the main 3. That was supposed to be the last book that contained those 3 in Legends. But it was a good send-off for them. So if it makes sense, it makes sense. But I think, going back to the main point, I think Disney has to accept, okay, people come to Star Wars for different reasons, and that's okay. You can like a part of Star Wars, or you can dislike a part of Star Wars. If you have a thing that you like in Star Wars is here for you, and that thing will always be there for you.
Yeah.
But I think it's okay for Star Wars to go, for Lucasfilm, Disney, Star Wars to go, hey, you know what? We want to have some more material on Luke Skywalker. And maybe we want to go in a direction of, okay, here's your Luke Skywalker story, and go off in that direction. Here, give us the choose your own adventure and pick a timeline. And like they go through and they poop. I think that's a great idea. You can have it for free, Disney. Like seriously.
I was gonna ask you to close out this episode of Star Wars Alliance. if you were in charge of doing this, to making these separate timelines, what timelines would you choose and how many would there be?
So I definitely think you stick to two, maybe three. And because like it's so hard because you can tell different stories across each one. Your Legend series doesn't have to revolve around the main three. You can still have other stories integrated in there that don't revolve around the main three. So, but I think if you wanted to split it based off the main three, then um I think you have four timelines. And you have one focus on Luke as the hero where he chooses to go about building the Jedi Order a different way, like in Legends. And you do it that way. And and then you have one kind of where we are now where Luke tries to stick very close to the Jedi Order of the Republic instead of building his own path. And then I think you do one, and that those are what those two timelines are dependent on. Everything else kind of happens around those. Han and Leia marry or don't marry. Whatever happens is based more on Luke Skywalker's choices in those timelines. And then I think in the other two, you go based on at the end of Return of the Jedi, Leia either marries Han or she goes, "You're not right, and I have to make the best decision for the new Republic that we're building."
Mm-hmm.
And chooses to not marry him, doesn't build a relationship with him. One is based off the Han and Leia relationship, and then the other is based on them separating at the end of Return of the Jedi. I think those are the four timelines you go with. And everything kind of revolves around the main character's choices in those.
So it sounds like you've been thinking about this a lot.
Actually, no, I came up with that on the spot because I was like, oh yeah, three. But then I was like, but I've always wanted to see what would happen if Han and Leia didn't build a relationship. If Leia said, I have to go with what I was trained to do from the Organas, and that is put my people first. I have to focus on the Republic. I've always wanted to see what happened in that scenario. But then I mean, obviously, we know what happens when Leia follows her heart, and we're going to get more into that in The Scoundrel and the Princess by Beth Revis when that comes out in August. But I think there's a lot of good ways that you can go about doing things and still make very pointed decisions about the timelines and think about, okay, but how does this affect this person?
Yeah.
And I guess you could say, okay, you'd have to have like a main timeline
See,
where
the way I see it is because I thought of three as well. Your main timeline being the original trilogy. That, I mean, it is solely what Lucas created was, and I guess you could say the prequel trilogy as well because he still created that as well. So that the from episode 1 to episode 6 is your main timeline. I would say the three other timelines that there would be is Legends, sequel trilogy, and High Republic. Keeping it very broad, but at that same time, with your Legends, you have so much content to deal with. With your sequel trilogy, you have a brand new start of characters that people actually care about, and characters are still being introduced into that canon, a la Grogu, and possibly, you know, well, technically it is still canon to that timeline, but you would still have people like Ahsoka. You would have people like Ezra and all of them, still in that timeline. Then in the High Republic, again, a new part of Star Wars that is very, very fresh, that as of right now is not, you know, Jedi versus Sith. It is, somebody, they're basically space terrorists. But I think those three broad timelines would actually be really, really fun to play around with.
So, okay. This is Crucible, by the way. This is my main timeline book that I reference for Legends.
Okay.
Um, so, fun fact. Actually, the High Republic fits in the Legends timeline. Because Legends timeline goes 26,000 before the Battle of Yavin to flip the page 40 plus years BB or ABY. So
Okay.
you've got 26,000 years before. So you've got Phantom Menace at 32 years before the Battle of Yavin. And then the next books there are 33 BBY. Then you go 67 BBY. And then the next one is 1032 BBY.
Mm-hmm.
So with the High Republic actually happening 100 or 200, no, it's 150 years, isn't it?
It's
150 years before the Phantom Menace, you actually have the perfect gap right there in the Legends timeline to put High Republic in. So I think when you think timeline, you have to think full spectrum. And whether that's, okay, everything happens before, but then you have to split off at a specific point, which is why I chose Return of the Jedi. And you have either Luke Skywalker picks to do a new version of the Jedi Order, Luke follows the old Jedi Order, Han and Leia get married, Han and Leia split. Not to say your idea isn't good, but with the timeline aspects, I think everything kind of flows together if you think about it that way, except the sequel trilogy.
Not necessarily. And the reason why I say that is, let's say High Republic was its own timeline. Things could change dramatically in the High Republic to make the Skywalker saga cease to exist.
Yes, very fair points.
So,
So
that's what I'm saying.
I think you have to then pick something though and go, hey, this has to be our cutoff point. What causes things to split? What's the butterfly effect that happens? So,
Well, see, I didn't really think about it as a branching. I wasn't really thinking Loki style. Hey, we're gonna kill he who should not be named, or whatever his name was. Oh
Kang?
shoot, what?
Kang?
Yes, Kang,
Oh.
not Kong. That's the giant ape versus
Or the
Godzilla.
dog toy. Clay,
You were
I don't know how
such
you
a
put up
dog
with
parent.
me.
You were such a
I
dog
am.
parent. No, but I think that I just thought about it in broad strokes. I wasn't thinking, okay, where is the fractured point? What is the nexus point, if you will, that branches everything out? I wasn't really thinking of it in that way. I was thinking, hey, Star Wars is our main source. Like Star Wars, the creation of Star Wars is the, base of everything. And here is how we're going to split that. And it is okay from main Star Wars, looking, like I said, from episode 1 to episode 6, the sequel trilogy can possibly happen. The legend stuff could possibly happen. And then if you go backwards, High Republic can still possibly happen. Like, or it possibly did happen is the right phrasing. But because it is in the past and things can change, I think that it would be fun to see it as its own thing and then push forward to possibly, like, hey, it could create new waves of, Star Wars content.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's just for me. I always like to source Chris because Chris on Slice of Film or anytime we're discussing something always likes to go, Katie, nobody cares about that detail. I'm like, I am a nitpicker. I like tiny details. I'm trying to write a recap for the in game on NBC, and my recap to start off was I think 1,450 words, and I still have to put a review in this recap, and my word cutoff is 1,200 words.
Oh no.
Yes, I am a tiny nitpicker. I like little details, and so that's my thought
I
process.
mean, but again, like if you had somebody with that kind of brain, then I mean either way could work. And that's why I, put down the question in our, Star Wars Alliance Twitter account for the listeners. Is this a good idea to you? Do you want it to happen? Do you not want it to happen? If you do, what timelines would you appreciate more? Would you want to follow the original three? Would you want to go off into new characters? Let us know. Excuse me. But with that, I think that is it for our show tonight. Of course, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter. Look into the bio. There is a link tree there with the link to all of our shows that I host. My shows that I host. That being, of course, DC Alliance, Batman News Weekly, Ranger Alliance, and of course, Star Wars Alliance. What about you, Katie?
You can find me. It's on the Twitter. It's at Slice of Katie. You can also find my Instagram account at that same username. Um, if you want to follow this show, it's on Twitter. It's at Star Wars Lines without the A in the wars. Very important. Don't forget it. My other show is Slice of Film. Like I said at the beginning of the cast, it is on Twitter. It's at Slice of Film 1. Please be paying attention to there because we're going to drop an episode probably middle of March, just kind of explaining some of the changes coming to the show, what you can expect, and what I'd like listeners to kind of tell us as we move forward. So, yeah, I'm very excited. I've been waiting to bring this show back. My winter was busy, and so things happened. Shit hit the fan, but now we're back, ready to roll. So yeah, I hope you're ready to get a slice a slice of film back into your podcast listening. So with that, y'all, this has been a fun hour. Make sure you tell us on Twitter or in the YouTube comments below. What do you think about multiple timelines for Star Wars? We look forward to sharing some responses next episode, which we will be here as always Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For now, though, I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you're listening or watching, and we will see y'all next time. May the Force be with you.
See ya.